Hello, London. We are ready for your vote.
Hi everyone, I'm Stephen Perkins, and this is Dewsbar. It's a very special off-the-cuff episode of Dewsbar, which we are recording live the evening of Friday, the 7th of March, largely in response to the fact that the UK's Eurovision entry for this year was revealed this morning. And I am joined for this episode by our very own producer, Liam Heffernan. Liam, welcome back to the show.
Hello again. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good day, I should say. But yeah,
Yeah,
I,
well,
I
well
have thoughts.
let's have some thoughts then on Remember Monday and What the Hell Just Happened is the title of the song. I'm going to say, first of all, I think it is really important to go with your gut when you first hear our entry because ultimately the people who are going to be voting at Eurovision will only hear the song probably once. Even if even though we get to perform it in the semi-finals these days, we did last year, a lot of people only watch the final. They will see it that one time and they will cast a vote based on that one hearing of it. So I think it's really important on that note to just go with what you think when you first heard it. My initial reaction to this song was it was very strange because it starts and you think, okay, it's this kind of gentle, sort of some nice harmonies and things, and then it's sort of the drums kick in and it picks up, and you're like, okay, it's going a bit country now, and then it just becomes something else. It goes a bit sort of dancey,
Mm.
and then they shove the brakes on again, and it goes back to one of the previous things. And I think I don't want to say my problem with it, because it's not like I have a problem with it. I think what I'm concerned about is that the constant gear changes in the song, and they're quite crunchy gear changes. I think that makes it quite difficult to get that song embedded in your head. I don't know if it's going to have the kind of earwormy quality that you're going to need to really get the televote in particular at Eurovision. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree with you in that it just on first listening, it felt very mishmashy. A lot of different things going into it, and it was a bit confusing. And having gone onto social media immediately after the song was played on Radio 2 this morning, what the hell just happened was probably a good way of summarizing the sentiment of most people who heard it.
Yeah.
It's I don't think it's resonated too well. And I think as well, I'm big on sort of checking the odds and sort of who's sort of rising and falling. Um, Normally, when the UK release their song, there's that little bit of hype, even if it is a bit short-lived, and we do see a bit of a jump in the bookies. Um, that has not happened, so that's not reassuring at all. We are around sort of 40, 50 to 1 at the moment, and we're hovering around 10th to 15th. And considering we're already guaranteed a spot in the final, that's not a particularly a good thing.
It's not
Um,
great, is it?
no.
I mean,
Um,
I think when we were listening to it earlier, I was sat next to my husband. We were listening to it together for the first time, and he made a point which I think is very, very good, very cogent point, kind of gets to the heart of it. Which he said that it basically feels like the end of a song over and over and over. And I think
yeah,
that's kind of the vibe you get from it. It feels like it's a song that has it's 3 minutes of end without a beginning or a middle.
yeah,
And they're doing some interesting things with it, but it just feels very structurally weird to me. And I've seen people saying, "Oh, but the juries will really love it because it's so structurally unique." And I don't know if they will, because I feel like if the juries are music industry professionals, they kind of know what a song's supposed to feel like and how it's
yeah.
supposed to progress. It's possible that they might genuinely love it because it is so different. Um, but I think it's a big gamble. I will say we did have a while ago on the podcast, I was asked, would I rather, we played it safe or took a big swing? And I do think this is us taking a big swing. I think this is us saying, do you know what? Let's try something we have not tried before and see how it goes for us. And to that level, I do hold my hands up and say, well done to the BBC for taking a chance. We are going to see how it plays out. It might work, it might not.
Here's the thing. I think yes, they have taken a big swing, but I think they've swung way too wide. I think, you know, taking a big swing would be putting a country trio uh, in Eurovision and bringing, country. to the song contest, which is not
Mm.
something that's been really done before, and it's a huge market now. There's a lot of interest in it. Um, that would have been a big swing in itself, and that potentially would have played a lot better rather than this sort of weird country rock opera poppy thing that they've gone with in What the Hell Just Happened. I
Yeah,
also
I think
think that we've learned from Sam Ryder that actually, as you kind of pointed out, maybe this was being a bit too clever, and actually, even the juries don't need something that's too overthought because Sam Ryder, Spaceman, that was a very simple song.
mm,
It was just incredibly well performed. It was well staged, and we won the jury vote over Ukraine. So I don't think that juries necessarily, as you say, kind of care much about really complex, clever songs.
yeah, yeah. I mean, just to pick up on your point just now when you said about country at Eurovision being kind of a new thing. Obviously, it has been done before. The Netherlands have gone to that well several times. They finished second doing it, so we do know country can go down really well at Eurovision. But when the funny thing is obviously when the announcement was made this morning, Scott Mills absolutely dragging it out beyond all human perception as to who the act was. And we were all sat there shouting, "We know it's Remember Monday. It was leaked months ago. It was mentioned on Radio 1 a month ago. The entire country knows it's Remember Monday. Just get on with it."
Yeah.
And so I think when we knew it was them, we were expecting something country. And this song, I think, has taken me by surprise because it doesn't feel like that's what it is. It's very kind of mishmashy genre wise.
Yeah.
And I think the other big selling point that we were supposed to have with Remember Monday is that they are these really, really good, powerful live singers, which I'm sure they are. My concern with this song is I don't know if this song is going to showcase that for them. There's, when people say, when you see fashion shows and stuff, and it's like, you weren't wearing the garment was wearing you. And I worry if there's a musical equivalent to that, that's what this song is. There's
Mm.
a possibility that it's just going to absolutely drown them in the stage and they won't be able to show themselves off to the best of their abilities. I really hope I'm wrong about that because, I haven't seen what they're doing with it live yet. I have no idea. And I really
Mm.
hope they've got something planned which is going to showcase incredible live vocals and really, because I do think they've got some great pipes. These girls can really sing,
Mm.
um, and their harmonies are stunning. But it's the structure of the song around it that gives me some pause.
Yeah, I share your concern there in that, even if you liked the song, I just struggle to see how they deliver those vocals live. Because
Mm.
there's a lot happening. There's some big changes. I mean, it's some people are calling it a mess. Even if you don't think that's the case, there's still a lot going on there that I think poses a lot of challenges even to really really good singers and really good sort of trios like Remember Monday when they're trying to perform that live. I will say though, since listening to it on Radio 2, I have then gone on and watched the music video on
Mhm.
YouTube, which Eurovision have now uploaded. And I think when you watch the music video, you can understand the vision and the story behind the
Yes.
song a lot more.
Yeah.
My problem fundamentally is I actually think there's a big branding issue here in that I don't think Remember Monday are necessarily the best act to epitomize the story of the song. I feel like you need some more kind of chaotic energy, and Remember Monday just don't bring that for me.
I think, yeah, I know exactly what you mean because I've also often watched the video, and I do think the video helps because it does give you a sense of what tone they're going for. And I think what it does kind of sell is that they seem like they're really fun people. I do worry slightly from the video. There's an awful lot of face pulling, and I think you don't want if they're going to go overboard with that on stage. That's a worry because I think that will that will detract from the song. I mean, I was actually going to say I do think that the big upside of this whole proposal for this year is that sorry, I keep falling over the name. Remember Monday themselves do feel like really good ambassadors for the UK potentially. They feel like they're really fun, that they're really up for doing Eurovision, that they really want to be there. And I think you can't overestimate that at all. If they want to be there and they can charm people when they go and do press tours, I think there's a lot to be said for that. So I think on that level, they're a fantastic choice for us. And the video did give me some hope, but then I think, you look at like Mae Muller's video for I Wrote a Song compared to what the staging was like for I Wrote a Song, and they were
Mm,
completely different. So you
mm,
can't always use the video as a measure of what the staging is going to be like. But we are kind of talking at this point. We don't know what's going to be done. We're
yeah,
very much just speculating. So I'm doing my best to kind of trust in the process, to think that the BBC have they've got some sort of long game in mind here. They've got an idea of what they want to do. They've got some good staging plans for it. We will see. I mean, heaven help
yeah.
us, not space, gym, changing room, locker room, whatever we had last year. Nothing like that, please.
I think though the challenge that the BBC burden themselves with by announcing the song so late on is that there's no time to respond to public opinion, to sort of take on board any feedback and really kind of tweak the performance and the song. Other countries do that, and even Malta. I mean, I think there's a whole another episode in that
Can of
now,
worms, can of
but
worms.
but even before anything got banned, they were saying, we'll take anything on board, we'll roll with it. We still have time to tweak. When you announce your song 2 months before the contest, 3 days before the deadline, you really don't give yourselves that freedom to make any changes. So I mean I'm going to assume that what they've got already behind the scenes is a finished product, something ready to go, and only really minor stuff can be done now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the other point I wanted to make actually, which is that in terms of the the actual release of the announcement of this year, it just feels like it has been a bit of a masterclass on how not to do it, because we have all known, as I said, for at least a month that it was Remember Monday, and it's just been like the worst kept secret in Eurovision, and it's sort of frustrating to me that the BBC haven't didn't just confirm them. That,
Yeah.
even if the song wasn't ready, they could have said, "Okay, we're confirming that they are indeed the act, and the
Yeah.
song will be released on X day," and kind of try to build some hype up that way. And it just feels like they've kind of been constantly behind the story the whole time. So when they tried to have this big kind of huge announcement of it, it was so anticlimactic because we all knew. And
It It feels like some genius at the BBC has tried to mastermind a campaign of like, leaking it without, owning it. And, because it's just been a calamity of errors. You had the Radio 1 sort of mess up that triggered it all. And then you had the leaking Remember Monday in the Radio Times for tonight's, big Eurovision party show. You had Remember Monday putting all the What the Hell Just Happened merch on their TikTok yesterday, the day before it was announced, and then quickly removing it. It feels like there's something quite deliberate about it. And if that's the
yeah,
case, that it was someone made a terrible, terrible series of decisions there.
it's very chaotic, and I think quite BBC in that regard. But yeah, and I think the problem was they were kind of saying, "Oh, the reason we aren't confirming yet is because we want to do the whole thing in one go. We want to reveal the artist and the song and have kind of it ready to go." So I think the problem with doing that is that then you set expectations very high, that
Mm,
when we hear this song, it's going to be the finished product. So when they played it this morning and I was listening to it, and I'm thinking, oh dear, like I don't know, this feels like it still maybe needs, maybe just needs a little bit more fine tuning, just so it doesn't, so it's not quite so
mm,
jarring, at those various points of it.
yeah.
It's going to be an interesting few months in the run up to Eurovision. We'll see what the press campaign will be like, because it does feel like the BBC has a lot of confidence, particularly in the act, if not necessarily the song. So, and I just they do. I've heard on the grapevine that they aren't just kind of Eurovision, what's the word, fair weather supporters. That at least one of them is a proper hardcore Eurovision fan and is
Mm,
really really stoked to be doing this, which I think is great. I think that's the kind of energy we want, because I felt like, as much as Ollie Alexander last year was kind of talking about how much he loved Eurovision and how much he always wanted to do it, and I'm sure he did, but it didn't ever really feel like he was thrilled to be there. Whereas I am getting that from Remember Monday. I feel like they are genuinely, this just feels exactly what they wanted to happen.
mm. Yeah, and I'm with you. I think it's so great that they clearly have a lot of energy and excitement for Eurovision, and if they can bring that to the stage, that's part of the battle, right? And that's something that we have lacked in some acts in recent years. Um, but it is only part of the battle, and I think the very damp reception that we've had to the song today, um, uh, and the weird way that everything's kind of been released over the last month, I just I'm not feeling it. Call me a cynic. Maybe we've covered this far too much over the last few years, but I'm just feeling a bit jaded, and I hope they surprise me. But
Yeah.
it's we're not starting from a good position, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. And I mean, we are kind of at that position where the kind of the lineup is pretty close to completion now, so that we do sort of have a fair idea of what we're up against. And I think I said in one of the very recent episodes that we had the kind of opportunity where, because we didn't feel like we had a winner yet, we could have just turned up and been like, bam, the
Mm,
UK is not messing about this year. And I feel like we've not quite done that.
yeah.
But as I said, I do. Whatever my reservations about the song, I like that we are giving something a go. We are putting our full weight behind a concept and an idea. And I think I'd always rather do that and fail than play it safe and also fail. If you see what I mean, like if you if we're doomed to do badly at Eurovision, as we often are, I'd rather we at least did it with a concept rather than with some very kind of middle of the road generic Radio 2 friendly kind of nothingness.
I agree, and I think our biggest failing, really through much of the noughties and the 2010s, is that we just played it far too safe and ended
Yeah,
up taking some absolute drivel to Eurovision, for a lot of years. And whether you liked what we've done in the last few years or not, I think even with May Muller, I think at least they had a concept. I
yeah.
They didn't really execute it very well, and it didn't translate on stage. But they had a concept. Same with Ollie Alexander; it just didn't hit. But I think you're right. I think we're on the right lines by doing that. You're either going to miss big or you're going to hit big, but you're not going to win if you don't, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we're probably not going to win either way for a while. But I do at least I like that we're giving it a go and we're trying something. And the song is kind of it's building with me a little bit, so we will see how I feel about it. But as I said, you can't really afford to be a grower at Eurovision. You need to hit people straight with that first performance. So I really,
Yeah.
really hope they've got something in the tank for that big moment on the Saturday night in May, where they can just wham everybody at home and make them go, brilliant, I want to pick up and vote for that. So
Yeah.
we shall see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, who knows? Who knows what Europe thinks as well? We're getting a very isolated opinion, from, people in this country. Maybe that's what we're doing wrong. Maybe actually we need to think a bit more about how the rest of Europe sees us and sort of lean into that a little bit more. And maybe that's going to resonate better with the rest of Europe.
Yeah, yeah, you never know.
Mm.
So it'll be really interesting to see what happens over the next few months, and I genuinely, really do hope it pays off this gamble that we're taking because as cynical as I am, I want us to do well at Eurovision. I don't want us to always be at the bottom of the leaderboard. I really want us to turn up and represent ourselves well, and
Yeah.
we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah.
But we could sit here and argue about this all night, but I think we should let the listeners go at this point. And I will say that I will be back on Monday to wrap up the remaining of the national finals and the other songs which have been confirmed over the last 7 days since our previous episode. So lots to look forward to there. And of course, the news and everything that's happened with Malta, we'll try and get into that as much as humanly possible. Liam, thank you very much for joining me again this evening.
It's a pleasure as always.
And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Please do come back and join us for our next episode. As always, please subscribe if you haven't done so already. And until next time, good night Europe and good morning Australia.